Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the THW NHL News and Rumors Rundown for the weekend of February 13th, 2021. Happy early Valentine's Day to everybody who's going to be celebrating tomorrow. But we got tons of hockey action to talk about, NHL news and rumors that we want to run through from this past week. Before we do that, don't forget, check out thehockeyraiders.com. You can go to @thehockeyradar on Twitter, follow us on Facebook at the Hockey Raiders, or check out all the news and rumors report that we put up daily on the website, talking about all the things I'm about to run through with you really quick today. So let's get right into that. Again, my name is Jim Parsons with thehockeyraiders.com, and we got tons to go through. So here we go. Big news first, obviously, was that Ron Hextall and Brian Burke were brought into the Pittsburgh Penguins organization. Hextall will now be the new general manager. Brian Burke, the president of hockey operations. Hextall had turned down, apparently, an assistant manager's position with the Seattle Kraken to join the Pittsburgh Penguins. It sounds like he was one of at least 20 candidates to apply for the job in Pittsburgh. Second interview was pretty much all it needed. As for Brian Burke, that one kind of came out of left field. Nobody really knew that Burke was in the running for a job. Nobody seemed to know that he was even going to leave Sportsnet and his analyst position, but apparently he was a sounding board for the ownership in Pittsburgh, and they finally just said, you know what, let's just see if he's available. He has said that if it was any other team, he wouldn't have joined. If it was any other ownership group, he wouldn't have joined. But he's happy and excited to go to Pittsburgh and help out. So Hextall and Burke at the helm of the Pittsburgh Penguins should be very interesting to watch. Some of the things that we're hearing already is there's some debate now in Pittsburgh about what the team direction will be. It sounds like the team is going to continue to try to make a winner out of this season. They're not going to do anything this year. If there's moves, it'll probably start as early as this offseason. But some of the speculation is already out there, of course, and of course Sidney Crosby is going to be at the center of all of this. There's talk, Darren Dreger reported, and it caught a lot of interesting flack, that Crosby, might say to Pittsburgh, hey, look, if you guys can trade me, go ahead and do it. If you can get the pieces that you need to rebuild quicker here to be a competitive team longer term, but send me to a Stanley Cup contender like Colorado or the New York Rangers or whatever. Now, he's not said this. Drager is reporting that this is not something that Crosby has come out and said, but he could see a situation or a scenario where Crosby's legacy might be not only how good he was in Pittsburgh, but how well he put that club in a position to do well after he was gone. So there's just some talk there that might happen. Speaking of Pittsburgh Penguins, there's been some rumblings that they're looking for an active starting goalie and that they reached out to the Vegas Golden Knights and asked about Marc-Andre Fleury. And the funny thing is this happened in between GMs. So interim GM Patrick Allvin was running the team after Jim Rutherford stepped down. Sounds like he reached out to the Vegas Golden Knights about Fleury, and the ownership group was interested in bringing him back to the team, but Vegas wasn't willing to make that trade, which is funny considering that they were rumored to have been moving Fleury in the offseason when they were trying to send Alex Pietrangelo. So Fleury could end up in Pittsburgh eventually at some point, but it doesn't sound like the Vegas Golden Knights are going to be trading him this season. He is like 5-0. He's got a huge stat line, which is really favorable for the Golden Knights, and they're rolling along. So it doesn't make any sense to trade him at this point. All right, switching teams. Let's go on to the Vancouver Canucks. It sounds like Jim Benning is really on the hot seat now. David Pagnotta of the Fourth Period is reporting that if this series between Vancouver and Calgary doesn't really go Vancouver's way, there could be a change here at the top. Jim Benning might not be the GM when this week or next week rolls past. Now, we don't know that for sure, but there's been a lot of speculation as to how badly things are going in Vancouver. I think they've lost like 6 straight now. It doesn't look really good for Benning. Some of the moves he made in the offseason, where his future lies with this team. Interesting note, Roberto Luongo is one of the names that might be out there as a candidate should they make a change at the GM position in Vancouver. He's moved up the management realm fairly quickly. He's helping out in Florida right now. He knows the Vancouver market really well. We'll see if that's ever something that happens, but Vancouver's got to do something. They're just struggling like crazy, and Jim Benning is kind of the man responsible for most of what's going on here, so he could be on the hot seat. All right, Derek Stepan has talked about his time in Ottawa, and there's some talk that he's struggled a little bit, missing his family, being away from his newborn, that there might be a trade in the works here. GM Pierre Dorian did go on TSN radio and did say that Stepan hasn't asked for a trade, and Stepan has said, look, it's uncomfortable, it's awkward, I'm struggling a little bit here, I'm doing my best, but I'm just trying to think about Ottawa Senators hockey. I'm happy here, it's not like I want to go, I'm just having a hard time. So it doesn't sound like there's a trade in the works, but that doesn't mean the trade won't happen. We've already seen today that the Ottawa Senators made a deal to pick up Ryan Dzingel again. So there are moves being made here, and Stepan could go out. We'll see what happens there. By the way, Carolina, Alex Galchenyuk and Cedric Paquette are involved in that trade too. So lots going on here with the Ottawa Senators, and we'll keep our eyes on what happens with Derek Stepan. In the Edmonton Oilers area or world, James Neal was put on waivers today. Don't expect that he's going to get picked up by anybody. $5.75 million for the next 3 seasons, including this one. Nobody's probably going to take that contract on. And this wasn't really about James Neal getting demoted or removed by the Oilers anyway. Sure, if somebody picks him up, it's great for Edmonton to relieve some of that salary cap burden, but they're not trying to get rid of him. They're really just trying to make it flexible so they can move him around between the taxi squad on and off, freely like they've done with Tyler Ennis, Alex Chason, Devin Shore. So Neal clearing waivers if he does do so, which we assume that he will. He might even play with the Oilers. It's just a matter of having some cap flexibility, not so much cap flexibility, but roster flexibility to move people back and forth. Also in Oilers news, Jesse Puljujarvi was pulled off a practice Thursday, did not play against the Montreal Canadiens on Thursday night because of an inconclusive COVID protocol test. They did a second test, it was negative. They did a third test today, which was negative. So he's now released of his isolation. He can be free and clear to go back to the Oilers. He was put on a charter flight back to Edmonton. He will play Monday night against the Winnipeg Jets. So that's great news for the Oilers. He's only going to miss 1 game. The timing of their schedule couldn't have been better. He's only out 1 game. They won 3-0 against the Canadiens. So he'll go right back in on that top line with Connor McDavid. There's other news in Toronto, too. Joe Thornton is going to be back right away here. Nick Robertson should be back right away here. There's some speculation in Toronto that they might still be in the market for a forward or maybe adding a trade, but there's no rush, no panic to make a trade in Toronto of any kind. They're just going to keep their eyes on it. Apparently, Kyle Dubas believes that he owes this team the chance to keep improving, that he believes this team is really good. They could be competitive. They could be a playoff team, and he's always going to keep his eyes open for something they can add at a later date. So Thornton and Robertson coming back should be interesting. Where they slot, we don't know. There's some talk they'll put Thornton back on that top line again, but maybe not try to disrupt chemistry, so maybe put him back on the third line at the center position. We'll see where it goes. The only line that's really struggling at all is Toronto's third line, so that makes the most sense. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us this week. Don't forget, check out thehockeyraiders.com. Go to the Hockey Raider, Twitter, Facebook.com, the Hockey Raiders. All of the news and rumors reports are on the website now. And then, of course, we'll come back to you next week, and we'll do this all again. All right, guys, thank you very much. We'll talk to you next week. Have a fantastic weekend. Have a wonderful Valentine's Day, everybody. Treat your other half really good.